Dude. Hey everybody, it's Bren here to tell you about a new offensive ability that is certain to take your Overwatch game to the next level. No, I'm not talking about the seismic slam, the dragon strikes, the earth shadows. I'm talking about T-Mobile, baby. The new meta in wireless. They have America's largest 5G network covering 215 million people nationwide and nearly 6,000 cities and towns. So when you stream, when you game, when you flank or push, you'll know that T-Mobile's got you covered. I can tell you a story right now about my time when I was in a barn in Oklahoma working, gaming off of the 5G network, but I'm not gonna sully your time with that because I know you want the Overwatch gameplay. But even better, their nationwide 5G network works indoors, outdoors, covering thousands of miles, while the competition only covers city blocks. It's just another way the T-Mobile's nationwide 5G network is changing their game. Rank up and take your wireless game to the next level with T-Mobile, and visit T-Mobile.com today, and your game will thank you.
You just read like the whole thing.
Hey everybody, welcome to Plat Chat episode 39. We are sponsored now by T-Mobile.
Pog Champ.
No, this is not a special episode. This is just a regular episode now.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. This is the new normal. I do not have a run of show. So,
oh my God,
although we have a presenting partner sponsor now, dude, it's still the same show.
Yo, look at this. You guys are going to go crazy over this. We got T-Mobile mugs, and one day we'll combine them together.
Just smash them together, Brennon, and see what happens. It'll probably we'll fix it in post.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
nice.
Thank you.
This week was nuts. I mean, outside of us just rolling in the money from T-Mobile, I mean, the Overwatch League was just crazy.
Yeah, I know we have a big block plan just talking about Washington Shock.
Yeah,
we're not going to just
14
mention
seconds
quickly what all the magenta is about.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
T-Mobile.
Yeah, it's T-Mobile.
Did we not just talk? We literally just talked about T-Mobile.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. You're just kind of like the viewers are like, what's with the T-Mobile stuff? You know, that's what I imagine. And it's like, yeah, they're dope, and they're here now.
We love T-Mobile
on the podcast.
What's your point, Johnny?
Yeah, what's the point?
No, I'm just saying that like we're partnered with T-Mobile.
Yeah,
I believe that's what we all just shouted for about 10 to 15 seconds.
Anyway, let's recap week 20. We got
not the viewers know. They know now.
Segue into week 20.
We gotta jump into it quick because you don't have much time, Johnny. But the starting
nothing happened.
I want to start things off here with the Dallas Fuel versus the Vancouver Titans match. What a depressing game, dude. Watching that unfold.
Where do we even begin?
Well, firstly with Decay, I think.
Before we even get into like the whole Decay not playing thing, though, it's just going to be like 20 minutes of us discussing the drama around it as well.
Yeah.
But Dallas looked shocking even without Decay. Just like even if you had just changed Decay's name legally to Only God and he had a really bad performance.
You don't even need to do it legally. It's his nickname.
It's his name in game. He doesn't have to change it legally.
That's true. And honestly, Only God didn't even have a really bad performance. It just wasn't a carry level thing like Decay. But their team just like forgot how to play. Like they just turned their monitors off or something and their brains with it.
I mean, I do think the Titans have gotten better. Yeah. But to see them 3-0 the Fuel, like... It is not pretty.
Titans just came off a 3-0 loss to the Toronto Defiant. Like that ain't a good team. They've never beaten anybody before.
Right. But this loss, it sucks for Dallas. It's a brutal loss for Dallas. But I'm almost just happy that Vancouver got a game with all the crap that those players have gotten through, like coming into the league now and whatnot. To see them win a game in that type of fashion, I enjoyed seeing them win and seeing how excited. But it is... I mean, this is a Fuel team that we thought would start to make a push towards the upper half of NA. Without Decay, they look like they are quickly going to be towards the bottom half.
Oh yeah, someone in my chat said it beautifully earlier today. They were like, "My God, without Decay, the Dallas Fuel are a top 20 team." They are. They're a top 20 team. They're a 20th place team without Decay.
Well, it's like when LeBron was on the Cavs, right? And then he leaves, and then it's the same team, but they go to like one of the worst in the league. But then you just add that one player, and it gives that like firepower to be able to be one of the better teams.
I mean, after that control map, they just looked boomed. Like they seriously just looked boomed.
Yeah.
Like mentally, they were just distraught. Like
you can't be boomed against a team that's a bunch of contender players just picked off the street.
Well, it's sort of like they knew, you know, like they knew it was going to be a loss. Like that's what it felt like anyway. Like you were just watching this match and you just had that feeling like, oh no. Well, and you could tell by the players like, yeah, no.
Have you guys been involved in series like that before where like you have the first map and immediately after the first map, even when you're telling your teammates like we got this and we're going to win, you know, deep down you're like, oh yeah, we're kind of fucked
I knew
here.
this was going to be a 3-0.
Oh yeah. I mean, as soon as you see the starting roster, well, actually, no. Even when you saw the starting roster, you were expecting it to be like a closely fought victory for Dallas.
If control goes the other way, does this series change at all? You think?
No, they're boomed, but they're boomed as soon as they enter the server, Matt. The idea that they were boomed after map 1, I think, is wrong, just simply because they had already entered a state of boomage before they'd even entered the server. Because there's no way the rest of Dallas sit down without Decay and they're like, oh no, don't worry, like we'll be perfectly fine. Absolutely trust that everything's fine. You know, Onigod will take his place. We'll all play exactly the same.
The thing that annoyed me though about this match was that it just showcased that Dallas, much like a cat trying to cover up its excrement after it poos, the Decay is really just only covered up their mistakes that they need to fix. You know, like you're only hiding the problem. You're not taking it away and fixing it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's been various times in the season just recently. I'm just moving on, like screw that analogy, like just garbage. But like we were like, oh, you remember that one time Note played good Sigma against the Shock? Oh, you remember Crimso? Like he's actually like looked pretty good at times, but now it just fell to pieces. Like did those players look better because Decay was in the lineup? Like what's going on here? Because it all just kind of fell apart.
Yeah, they're 4-8. Like if they didn't have Decay, I can think of one game they won against the Valiant that definitely would have been a loss without Decay.
Yeah,
sure.
So you knock them down to 3 wins. Is this like a 2-win team? Not saying that going from 2 wins to 4 is super impressive, but
well, here's the head coach Aero's quote on it, and he basically, I mean, to summarize it, what's up, Bo? What do you want? I'm recording. Get out of here.
Get out of here and hide your excrement, you filthy Dallas Fuel player.
Huh? You cat. The tweet from Aero essentially said that they were running with Onigod because they wanted to give Decay a break before playoffs. Yeah. Or before the summer showdown, and they wanted to try a new system with Onigod in place.
Yeah. So I got this. I got this quote from Aero, and I got this actually before the game. So, and I was very transparent, you know, with her as well, that we would run it during the game break. And I was very sincere about it. And, you know, I know it was a match day. I think, I don't know. No, actually, you know, no,
you can't go down this long path and about to make an emotional statement and then just say no and then just look into the distance and not say anything.
Well, I feel like because I got the quote before the match. Aero wrote like in the quote as well, just like we're confident we'll beat Vancouver Titans without Decay. If I had done something differently as the guy who like got the quote initially and asked him about it, I would have probably given the quote to Brennon and Josh so they could run it pre-game. Because I think it, you know, the quote hit extra hard when you're down 0-2 and then you show like, oh, we're confident we'll beat them. We're down 0-2, by the way. And people didn't know that I got it before the game. Yeah. So I felt kind of bad in that regard. You know, so here's the thing as well. Like some people were pretty, you know, at various social media or whatever, they were like, hey, you know, the halftime game break desk, they weren't hard enough on the Dallas Fuel for doing this. But I felt as the analyst in that situation where I got the quote from Aero, I would have felt very unprofessional getting the quote and then shitting on the quote. So in that game break, I felt like I submitted my analyst reins to become like the one providing the insider information and then let other people like do their thing.
I enjoyed dunking on him once he came back to us.
I mean, even if it was before the game, I think people would have given crap to Aero. But I think what people need to realize is sometimes as a coach, there are certain situations that are potentially out of your control, right? Where this one, depending on what you believe in terms of Ruber, could have been something that's not even really under his control, right? So of course he's going to say like we're confident in the players we have. He's not going to be like, well, our star's out today, so we'll just lose, roll over, and die. Like that's not going to happen. Like,
I mean, did you see this though? Dallas Fuel followed up at like 12 p.m. on the 22nd, which is earlier today when we're recording it on Monday. So the day after their match, they had like Dallas Fuel sat down with Aero and recorded this video where he was explaining, and it's a lot of PR speak, but crucially, there's an extra piece of information in here where they say, we're a team that believes in giving players a break when they need one, and Decay wanted a break. Decay asked for a break. And this follows Brad, the head coach or GM or whatever the fuck he is for the Atlanta Reign, saying that the rumor was that Decay had benched himself. And Reddit went wild with this in the weirdest way. Like, they immediately just thought Brad was lying. Like, why the fuck would another coach just randomly lie about someone benching himself?
Yeah,
I think Decay came out though and said that was not.
I just find that weird in the first place that a coach would be commenting on that, on rumors.
Well, yeah, it is without a doubt weird. But just because it is weird, you can't just dismiss why he did it in the first place. Yeah, it's like, it's a shitty thing for him to do, and therefore he is lying.
I was like, what the fuck? And also the people saying, there's no way that Decay plays Valorant. He streams Overwatch all the time. And I'm like, what? A lot of people stream Overwatch constantly, but they still have more hours in the day, and they might be playing Valorant on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation. I think it's also because Decay was playing so well for Dallas that it's really kind of sparked a lot of emotions with the Fuel fans, because this was a year where things were actually looking like it was going to trend up. And now they're kind of seeing some of those bad things that they had earlier.
So a repeat of the last 2 years.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like it feels probably very similar to the last 2 years.
Here's my thing though. Go on, Johnny. Go on. Okay. I'm gonna start.
I just I can be a bit sympathetic for Fuel fans that had the expectation that even without Decay, they should have been able to beat the Vancouver Titans. I think any reasonable, analyst or whatever, if they had the lineup before the game and were like, okay, Onigod is playing, we're still going to predict Dallas Fuel because we have enough confidence in their supports and tanks to win that game. That's where I can understand the frustration. Yeah. And so with that in mind, I've been pretty hard on the Dallas Fuel on Watchpoint on pre and post show, because I've been like, you actually have a pretty shitty record, and it's time to get some wins. You need to win. You looked good in the May Melee finals, not the finals, but in the May Melee tournament. But those wins don't really count as much as the regular season wins. You need to be able to win in the regular season too. So I can understand the frustration from the Fuel fans, but I'm not ready to just blame one single person, in this case Aero, for what is going on. It seems suspect. There's a lot in this situation to unpack, and a lot of stuff we don't even know about. So I think you have the right to be upset, but be a bit more cautious about where you direct your anger, because it seems pretty messy.
And the one thing I think you can say about the Dallas Fuel just as an organization is where some teams have sucked for a while and they haven't made big changes, right? But look at what this team's done each year to try and improve the roster. It's unfortunate sometimes it just hasn't worked out in terms of who they picked up and how things have gone, but at least you're seeing them make attempts.
The Fuel fans are rabid. Do you remember do you remember Kai when he was the whatever? I can't even remember if he coached or GM or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I remember the Fuel fans that team, bro, I don't know what it is. I think it was the arrogance of them coming into the Overwatch League as the envy team, And
well, I mean, they suffered a lot of the same things that the Seoul Dynasty suffered from early on, right? I mean, these are two teams that in the first season of the Overwatch League, everyone was like, oh, the Dallas Fuel and Seoul Dynasty are going to like dominate. Like, it's like an old like rivalry that'll now become new again. And like the first match between those was hype. And I think by the time we got bound to the other one, it was like, who the hell cares? I mean, it was just, I think it's teams that have such a fantastic history attached to themselves. But it was a different time of Overwatch, and it's going to be completely different teams. But those fans still expect those types of results.
Yeah, but I mean, the Dallas Fuel have sucked for so long, and you can say that, all right, they did some job at trying to retool the team, but they still have players on the roster that have like gone old and crusty 3 years ago. And then they've also had the same kind of coaching staff that's dragged them through every year's iterative process without really improving. This year had to be the year for Dallas to improve, and they haven't so far, outside of Decay looking incredible. And when you look between the lines in this case, I feel like it screams mismanagement, and not for the like Reddit reasons of them like believing the PR indication of like, oh, why the fuck would Aero bench Decay? Like, obviously that was nonsense from the outset. But even when you take the facts as they are presented, that Decay, for whatever reason, decided that he needed to take a break right now. Well, let's dig into that a little bit more, because we've just come off a huge fucking break from the May Melee. The guys just had a week and a half off. Oh, yeah, was it 2 weeks, something like that? Like the last time that Decay
you don't get
played,
the full time off. They as soon as they found out hero pools, they would have been scrimming, and probably scrimming as well a little bit beforehand as well.
But if a guy needs a break and you can tell that, then you sit him during the rest period, during the break. You don't sit him when there's actually matches, right? Or you would rather get ahead of this and actually sit him during the time when there's no Overwatch League games. So there's clearly some reason why Decay wants to be rested right now. It's also highly unfair to Onigod, because you have created a team culture where people don't respect new players coming in enough to be present to let that guy shine. You have essentially just said to Onigod, hey, fill in for Decay, our carry player, and you're not probably going to be playing this role ever again. You're not really going to be playing the Tracer. You're probably going to be playing the Widowmaker, Ashe kind of player, but fuck it. We really need this win against the Titans, and Decay is having to be rested. That doesn't make any sense. That puts way more pressure on Decay. Way more pressure on Onigod. He's now lost to the worst team in the league, a team that no one else had lost to at all, and that's just going to boom his confidence moving forwards. And that, again, is like, if you had a functioning team culture, then you would be able to show that that's a really important time for Decay to be in the roster. It's
a shame too, because Onigod's a really nice player, very good player as well. So like, I think like Fuel fans like don't get the best look at him early on, and it's like, oh, like who is this guy? Like he must suck. Like that is definitely not true with him. He is a very fantastic player, but I think like Josh said, he's playing a little bit out of role, trying to fill in.
What this match highlighted to me personally as well was that I was always quite high up on the tank line of Gamsu and Note, but I didn't think they looked good at all in this match. And like, if Decay has been covering that, then I don't really know what to say. Normally the thing that we go on about is the coordination that they've built up after playing with each other for so long, but this team was all over the place in this match. Like, I don't even want to go back and rewatch it. I just have to rethink it, relive it through the cast, Like, that match was terrible from the Dallas Fuel's perspective. They were so uncoordinated. And one player coming in shouldn't have that much of an impact like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, they were at a disadvantage already because Vancouver Titans played 2 hitscan players in a double hitscan meta, and Dallas Fuel played Doha and Onigod. So, you know, best case scenario, they would have played Decay and Onigod in my mind anyway. So, didn't, I think if you're a Dallas Fuel fan, I think you have to wait a little bit longer before you ask for someone's head, But if, the rest of the season goes to shit, then I can understand that you want major changes within the team.
Yeah. Well, I think there's just no question in that case, right? Because if this year goes badly when you have players like when you have players like Decay and Doha on the Dallas Fuel, then Aero has presided over the 2018 to 2019 shift, which generated no results, the entirety of coaching the 2019 team, which generated no results, and the shift from 2019 to 2020 and the whole of 2020 that generated no results. So, I mean, if you're presiding over that kind of span and nothing's going well, then yeah, I think you're well within your rights. I
Yeah,
also, though, go on.
No, I was just gonna say this is his rebuild. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm also concerned about like this might not be an isolated event. If Decay's desire to rest and bench himself, which this is, right? The PR statement from the Dallas Fuel has not refuted the idea that he decided to take the break himself. It's come from the player. If Decay's decision to bench himself has been going on for long enough that other head coaches have like got wind of it, because I was also told by a different source, it wasn't Brad as well, the exact same thing. So if this is starting to float around as a rumor, then who's saying that he's going to be back in to play against the Toronto Defiant next week? Who's saying he's going to be back in to play the Summer Showdown? Who's saying that he isn't looking for an alternate home? Like, no one's saying that he's going to move to Valorant, but he might be profoundly unmotivated and looking for somewhere else. This could all be within the realms of possibility.
I also think you just need to be quite careful as well with hearing outside information. You can always think, Josh, what do these coaches benefit from letting this rumor circulate out?
Yeah, but that's the way it happened. It's,
Well, I mean, in my opinion,
I'm gonna mess up the fuel now. Let's
but am I thinking too
rumors.
5-head about this? Am I thinking too 5-head, thinking that if you're a head coach and you're like, okay, well, Dallas has got Decay, but if you're saying something to try and circulate this rumor that hurts Decay and Dallas to a lesser degree, but it really hurts Decay at the end of the day. If you're saying he's playing Valorant, he's prioritizing another game, that's going to hurt Decay if eventually he wanted to move to another team. How do you benefit from that if you're Brad? Well, I don't know. Maybe pick him up as a player for cheap. I don't know. There's always reasons that people will do something.
I don't think though that the psyops warfare is what Brad's trying to do
here.
No,
that's what I think. But here's the thing, Josh. Here's the thing. The people that try and play those kind of games are never smart enough to play them in the first place.
What?
You know what I mean? You always see it happen.
The people who are smart enough to play the games don't play them.
Because you'll never be able to tell that they're playing them.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
But it's so obvious from Brad saying on Reddit, saying, oh, well, there's a rumor circulating that this happened.
Well, apparently the reason that he said that, he came out afterwards and he said, the reason that I'm saying it, even though it seems unprofessional, is because the Dallas coaching staff are not going to be able to say that. So he wants to be able to say, like, it's not on them, to like try and save Aero, who's in a similar position that like Brad has been in before.
Yeah.
To be able to say, okay, like there might be some problems with Aero and the team culture that he set up that has caused this issue, but it's not like Aero has decided to bench their star player because he's just out of his brain.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It just feels weird too that like one party is like Decay asked for a break and Decay on stream is like, don't believe it. And I'm like, what?
Well, I think he's never said don't believe that he wanted a break. I think he's saying don't believe prioritizing another game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That probably makes sense. Yeah.
Because it does hurt Decay if you're putting into question his work ethic. Like, it does hurt him, and he's one of the more valuable players in the league. Anyway, I think we should move away from this topic.
Around? Just tell us what's going on, dude. Like, there's so much shit. Fuck the rumors. Now
Let's move on to a team that actually has improved from their acquisitions, the Hangzhou Sp9rk. This is a team, they've now got Architects playing some matches. They've got QOQ as well in the off-tank role. Yeah. At the start of the season, before we came into it, I looked at the Hangzhou Sp9rk. I had to write some articles on them. I got a bit pissed off because I was on holiday and I didn't really know how to write English too well. But when I was looking at the Hangzhou Sp9rk and writing my pre-season article on them, I had to say that this team had not made any acquisitions or upgrades really. They had Coldus and Mika, who are two Chinese-speaking players in a Korean-speaking roster. Doesn't really make too much sense. Couldn't see them playing. And I thought they looked a little bit kind of mediocre. They had a good finish in 2019, but they didn't make any upgrades. These are very sizable upgrades that now make the Hangzhou Sp9rk, in my opinion, the second best team in Asia. Discuss.
Me and Josh talked about it on a head-to-head, and I think I think you took the side of Seoul Dynasty being the second best team in Asia, but I really think it's going to come down to Hangzhou and New York. I think with the acquisitions that Hangzhou has made, I think they can really start to put up good fights against anybody, and I also think they're a team that will excel in multiple different metas and scenarios. The only thing I worry about with Hangzhou is whether they figure out those metas and scenarios fast enough to be able to kind of weather those storms.
I mean, second best team in Asia right now is clearly the Guangzhou Charge. They've just beaten like the other competitors this week. But as for like the future, yeah, I could definitely see Hangzhou improving a lot, especially when you consider that these acquisitions were fairly new to the team, and like they even started Mika for one of their maps.
I was playing Mercy, right?
Yeah, he was playing Mika. Mika actually played for 4 out of 6 of the maps against the New York Excelsior in that match that they won. So that's pretty impressive stuff, especially when you consider that he's Mandarin speaking. He's a Chinese player like that. I thought that Coldest would be the next Chinese player to be integrated onto the Spark instead of Bebe, but instead they sub out IDK. It's pretty interesting.
I know now that I've said that Hangzhou Spark, I think, are the second best team in Asia. I'm going to get the plebeians screaming at me from below when I'm sitting on my ivory throne, saying, they lost to the Guangzhou Charge, Bren.
Is that what the people in the comments sound like?
Shut up, Timmy, okay? I'm not saying that they're immediately going to be the best, but I think with these acquisitions now, on paper, this team has a long way to go, okay? Just need to clear that out.
They go to 5 games with Guangzhou, right? So it wasn't like Guangzhou like blew them out. No. And then this week we have, I think it's on Sunday, Guangzhou, New York. So that'll be another game where we get to see who potentially rises up in the Asian region, which it's funny. We talked about these teams. Like, I feel like we've kind of given up on Seoul Dynasty amongst all of this.
You know, they look pretty good too. Profit did anyway. You know, they did some mistakes, but Profit looked good for the most part. Josh was
I'm kind of like on the verge of forgetting about Seoul. Like, I think they're always going to be a contender, but I don't think they'll ever be a top team this year.
They make too many mistakes. They make too many mistakes, and they play comps that are super strange. I don't know, man. Like, they're just so inconsistent, and it doesn't seem to be something that they can improve on. It just seems to be just a feature. It's like, don't worry, the inconsistency isn't a bug; it's a feature. We love losing some games.
They're consistently inconsistent, which is not great.
Horrible place to be. I don't know where it stems from, because it's, you know, Ben in the London Spitfire and now the Seoul Dynasty, and I just like.
And this is one of the reasons that we weren't high on Seoul in the preseason, was because they had picked up all of these players from London, and we were like, but what happens if the shot calling of Benosin leads to them spiraling?
The London side wins out over the Seoul side. Like,
well, guess what? It looks like it kind of has, which is a big pity.
You know, I was still hoping, like, the dream scenario would have been that Marvel would have been the main tank, and then maybe you upgrade Mitchell to a better off tank, and now, you know, and now they have Slime as well. And maybe you would have been able to like offload some of that onto these off-tank and main support players that hasn't been with the original core for the past 2 years, right? But instead, we're in this funky situation where we have Gesture on main tank and Marvel on off-tank playing like a Sigma. And it's like...
I think I saw something that they haven't won a series that they've made substitutions in out of their main like roster. Like, any series that they've kind of fluctuated from, like, Toby, Bedosian, Marvel, Gesture, Profit, Fitz, they haven't won.
Didn't Slime win a series recently? Or am I going crazy?
It may have changed. I think I saw it
that was the one where they got boomed by New York. Yeah, I could believe it. I mean, the same applies to Shanghai, really, as well, doesn't it? Like, whenever
I was just looking to see how many maps they've even played Slime in.
I think it was just one series. I think it was just the 3 maps against New York, and they got shit slammed.
So
I'm just kind of upset, because I was actually a pretty big fan of the Seoul Dynasty roster last year with KJG, and I know some people were upset about the fact that they had 2 different rosters and like doing the 12-man stuff, I recall correctly. But now it's just feels like the Seoul Dynasty of 2018 almost, performance-wise, and I'm like, where's the progress? You know, they look so talented last year.
Architect looked really sick.
Yeah, I mean, to drive it back to the original point, Architect did look really good. QOQ, I think this is a team that, as time goes on, and they are just going to mesh even better together. Like, the coaching has never been the issue of the Hangzhou Spark, has it? I think it's just been that there's been a potential limit. There's been a ceiling with some of the pieces they've been using, some of the players they've been using. And now that they've brought in some new firing power, I genuinely do think that Hangzhou are going to be a real contender for maybe even the top spot in Asia. The match against Shanghai that's coming up next week is going to be really interesting to watch, actually, in my opinion, because we're going to go to no hero pools, and it's really going to be just now this battle between these two teams, whereas Hangzhou have been so consistent all year, essentially since their introduction, right, into the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
They've always been a consistently good team. And I think that just is showcasing how good this coaching staff has been. Now, who are the coaches? I couldn't name them. But I'm expecting quite big things, and I'm looking forward to this match.
That is weird, right? That is so weird. I couldn't name I know that I've looked it up before, but I still couldn't tell you who the coaches are for the Hangzhou Spark. I always forget.
If you told me, I'd be like, oh, yes. But I couldn't. Right now, I cannot name them.
Yeah.
I'm going to look it up because I always forget.
Feel like they added... somebody added SNT as a coach. Who did they?
They added U4.
SNT was. Oh yeah, they had
U4. Yeah. The guy who was there for the inception of the Shanghai shit show.
It's Mask. Mask is the head coach of this team, and I always forget about him.
It's a forgettable name.
Yeah,
like, it's not a name you remember.
They recently added Pejon as well, which I don't really know how much difference that's going to make. I heard very hot and cold things about Pejon with the Titans, but yeah, Mask has always done a pretty good job previously.
I do see like how Hangzhou's like made their new pickups play and kind of pay off, like where just seeing Slime just sit on the bench blows. I put in he's played one map and the stats do not show with anything over 8 minutes of time played for him. So he is really not been in the lineup or included. Like, if you were going to sign Slime and not play him, why wouldn't you at least make an offer or try to get Janu to play off tank and at least have the option to put Marvel back on the main tank, right? Yeah. Like if you're going to sign somebody, why sign a player to just never put him in?
Well, there's a variety of reasons why they couldn't have got Janu, maybe. I'm a little bit confused as well. You would think that any player would jump at the opportunity to play for Seoul because it would mean that they'd be based, or at least any of the former Vancouver Titans players, because they'd be based in Seoul. But who knows? Anyway, I do want to... Any final thoughts on Hangzhou here?
I think they're a team that's going to go in a positive direction the rest of the way. I can't see this team kind of faltering by the wayside.
Now, this topic
is sick.
Yeah, it is.
This next topic is interesting, and I don't know who put it in, but I'm already agreeing with you, because it is the topic of, is Sparkle weighing down Paris? And I think this is such a little hot take thing. This is one of those things that you see in the YouTube title to draw in the little Timmies.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is one of those little clickbait titles, and I can kind of see where you're coming from, because Paris they looked good early. They've had some ups and downs, more recently downs. But Sparkle coming in, a lot of people were saying that it was supposed to solve a lot of their problems.
Sorry, that's just a phrase in there.
Yeah. Could have cleaned it up a little bit. Luckily, we're not on cast. A lot of people talking about Sparkle like he's supposed to come in and fix this roster. He's providing so much. He's a very talented player. But the way that Paris have been employing him and building around him with these strategies have been making me want to slam my head against the wall, because they've been playing these Mercy nano comps where Sparkle plays Genji and like, we'll funnel everything into him. And the comp is just so fundamentally shit that they just don't get anything done with it.
I almost feel like they watch the Dallas Fuel play like the unoptimal comps with Tracer, and we're like, we can do the same, but just substitute Tracer for Genji. And then it's like, no, yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Genji is kind of fucking potato right now. I mean,
until he gets his buff.
Well, the buffs will make him better, but
when does that come in? Is it next week?
Probably 2 weeks, right? Because it just went live.
It went live last week.
Oh, okay.
I just think like, you can style on bad teams while doing it, but just like they were trying to force it against the San Francisco Shock, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What kind of, and like especially when Paris Eternal throughout the year has been good at double shield as well, and like I know XE is back in Korea and like has ping issues, but you could have just played Soon and XE and like played double hit scan, play the meta, instead of trying to force this kind of Genji thing. And I mean, Josh can just open up about the Nico, Tracer, and Sparkle May stuff. Actually,
I mean, that was just horseshit.
Yeah.
That was when they played against Boston. That was really cool,
just stop trying to force Sparkle so much, you know? I get that he's good on the heroes he's good at, like Doomfist, Pharah, Genji. May not so much, but I've seen him do well in contenders on it. But like, simmer down for a bit. Stop trying to force it so much.
I watched Monty do something where he was talking about like the productions of different shows or whatever. And he was talking about like when you get this new toy, like that's all sparkly, you just want to throw it in and use it as much as possible in places that it doesn't make sense sometimes.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that's what's going on here, where like they had a good thing going, but I feel like they were built so much on like their teamwork and playing together. Yeah. And now trying to play around one person's kind of throwing it all to shit.
They had Xe back in for this match as well, so it's not like they couldn't have run Xe soon for a more default stuff. Yeah. And then when you open up on Busan against the San Francisco Shock, and you just dial the clock back to 2016 and start fielding McCree Genji. McCree Genji. I mean, they're like the worst combos to run with each other. You've got a pokey anti-dive person with a hardcore dive person.
Yeah, you would have thought they had
on both at the same time.
You would have thought they had a version of the game where the new heroes were behind paywalls and they had to just make up some shitty comp with the original heroes. And they were just like, oh, fuck it. We'll just play McCree Genji. That works, right?
Is McCree in the rotation this week?
Is McCree in the free hero pool rotation this week?
Yeah, and then when they went to Gibraltar as well, the weird thing is that on Gibraltar, we've seen the Asian teams actually have quite a bit of success playing the same comps that Paris were playing. With Winston Sigma and then an Ashe Genji. I think it was actually, I say we've seen them have some success, but that was actually New York who ran it, and they got first point held by the Hangzhou Spark. But to be fair to the Hangzhou Spark were running Tracer Genji dive, so it was a similar kind of thing, but they were running a Zarya instead. The point being that we have seen elite teams in APAC have some success running dive, but not against as coordinated an anti-dive team as the Shock. And also Paris, I don't think have the personnel in terms of their tank line to properly play with Sparkle. And I don't think that they have like the coordination. You kind of have to go all in. If you're going to run some kind of dive, then fuck it. Put like Xe or Soon on the Tracer and commit to the dive and see if you can get anything done and keep trying to scrim it and keep improving your timing. Because otherwise, scrap it and just play Xe Soon.
This is not the hero pool either. Like Sombra's removed, Diva's removed, Brig is removed, so you don't have armor. Like, why now? Like, why force dive now?
I mean, prepping for no hero pools.
Yeah, prepping for no hero pools for the overall playoffs, like potentially. But
I think they just...
8 minutes ago, Johnny's like, I don't want to really shit talk the Dallas Fuel. And the next one, he just fucking stabs them, dude. He just shanking him.
I think with Paris' match, I think they showed too much respect to the Shock. And this is something a lot of teams suffer from. Is when they get into their own heads probably before the match begins, especially against a team like the Shock, who... How many times have we seen a team just kind of look like a scared animal, you know, unwilling to play how they know they should be playing, but instead they start playing a lot more safe, a lot more, you know, secure. I can talk about this from my own personal experiences as well.
It's better than it's better. I mean, it's better they play scared than just not show up at all, like the Justice.
Justice played scared as well.
I wouldn't even call that scared.
Bro, sometimes they wouldn't even walk onto the point.
I mean, they were there so they didn't get the penalties.
Tuba was in their backlines, and the Shock weren't even looking at him, man. It was one of the saddest games I've ever seen in my life.
Sideshow back there, like just like, oh yeah, just let him go. I mean, dude, when you look, I love Super. But when you roll out Super on Sigma at the beginning, you were just throwing the BM on right away.
I got so much hate for saying during the match. I got so much hate from Washington fans claiming that the Shock were not fielding their best roster at that moment.
Super doesn't even play Sigma when he plays ranked on stream. He just doesn't. He's like, oh no. God.
I also got a bunch of shock people DMing me saying, wow, I think it's really rude that you just spent the whole time talking about how bad Super's Sigma was instead of talking about how good his wrecking ball was. And I'm like, come on, this match was a fucking joke. Like, it was over in 30 seconds, and the teams, it was like putting Mike Tyson in the ring with a small piglet. He just beat the crap out of it whenever he tried to pay attention to it.
We have that Sigma stat card for crunch time with Super, and I dug a bit deeper in like comments about it, and they were literally just like, "Oh, you know, it's a really bad Sigma performance. I don't know why they want to highlight that." And I'm like, "It's a joke, dude." Like,
oh my lord,
chill.
Wow.
Oh, giggle.
I remember turning that match on, and I maybe watched, I don't know, first 8 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I kind of know what's going to happen this one. I was like,
man. Yeah, well, casting it was a little bit different as well, because you kind of have to be a bit impartial, but how do you be impartial to that?
well, it's like you try and find the good with Washington and like where they're improving, right? Like that's kind of what you look for.
They had actually just straight up taken a screwdriver and removed their W key from their keyboard.
Well, I said you try and find the positive.
All I could do was apologize for Washington fans during that cast. All I could do was apologize. I was like, well, Chuba's a projectile player, doesn't normally play Tracer. You know, they've got these new acquisitions. I was making excuses for them.
It's a limited roster, right? It's a limited roster.
Excuses for this team while they're playing.
Yeah, it's and also they've lost a bunch of high impact players during the year.
Yeah.
They're trying to retool. They've already said 21 is the next kind of place that they're looking. But still, you want to show some signs of life here in 20. But
That's what I said. It was just like, if you want to stay in the league as a player, it would be in your best interest to perform well. And I mean, I'm not saying they didn't try the hardest.
That's
I'm not
tough
saying
because
that, but
you don't want players to just kind of be like, oh well, shit. Like I'm just gonna start playing individually because if I look good, I'll stay, and everybody else can just go out. Like, because you want to foster some kind of goodwill between players and wanting actually the team to succeed, not the individual. But I think it's a tough look for the Justice right now. I mean, there's no great way around it. They should sign Josh.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the match that actually was enjoyable. The Valiant versus Florida match.
Oh my god, that was so good.
Boom. This was, I think, one of the best performances I can remember in recent memory from a player. Shax actually just, here's what he did. Slanged out. He absolutely slanged out of control, dude.
The Valiant were what I loved about the win for the Valiant as well is they've won in a bunch of like odd ways throughout the year at times, but this was just like, we're gonna play what you guys kind of started with a lot of like Tracer and like Ash setup, and we're just gonna be better than you at it.
Well, this was
That's
such
what
an
I really
interesting
liked about it.
Match to watch, just because on the basis that we were expecting a lot of Tracer Ash, and instead Valiant just kind of played their own game and basically allowed KSP to try and force. It was so fascinating to watch them kind of. They had a strategy in mind and it was working, where they were playing KSP on the Widow to force BQB to the Widow, so that Yaki now was like forced to try and basically handle this Widowmaker in the back line, and it gave Shax all this space to work with. It was sick to watch the entire series.
Chelsea watched like part of the series in the other room, and then she came in. She's like, I don't get Bren. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, he just keeps talking about how good this BQB guy is at Widowmaker, but the guy on the other team, KSP, just kept dunking on him over and over again. She's like, is BQB that good? I was like, yeah, BQB is pretty good.
What I was saying during the cast was, I was saying during the cast that
she wasn't happy you didn't give KSP enough praise.
Bro, I gas up my UK boys any day of the week. UK Mafia 2020, you already know. But I wanted to highlight in the cast was because a lot of people don't think of BQB as a top Widowmaker player, but when he has played it, he has held his own and sometimes come out on top of the traditional Widowmaker players that we think of. Yeah. So I highlight.
It's a really good point, because you don't see BQB play the Widow that much, and we haven't seen it that much this season. And usually in the past, we've seen Saya play it, right? So people probably don't really understand I mean, BQB is a very good Widowmaker player. It's just the DPS duo of the Valiant is just crazy.
They're ridiculous. KSP had a 1.7 KD, really high KD throughout the whole course of this match. He did superbly well. He went 48 and 28, so great stuff. Shax fucking blows him out the water at the top. He went 72 for 31. That's just monstrous. A 2.3 KD while up against Yaki and BQB. That's gross.
Chels had this is a funny story as well. It just shows how much recently she's been watching Valiant games. But in the post game, she's like, "Why are they showing Diva highlights of McGravy?" I was like, "Oh, he's a Diva player." And she's like, "Nah, doesn't he play Tracer?" I was like, "That's a very long time ago." I was like, "Wow." She's like, "What?" She's like, "Why is he playing Diva?" I was like, "Positional change. It's all good."
Yeah. I would love to see how this match would go without hero bans. And I'm not about to make excuses for the Florida Mayhem, but I just genuinely want a rematch, because this match had the potential to probably be one of the best in the season. But it felt like we only squeezed out like two maps worth of juice, because Hanamura and Li Jiang were actually pretty garbo, I'd like to say anyway. And Hollywood and Rialto were super sick. So I would have liked to see how it played out if the Florida Mayhem were allowed to play Brigitte, Chris, that is, and how they would have stacked up in that regard. Because still, Gargoyle and Gangnam Jin were on a whole different level too.
Sick.
Yep.
But it just wasn't enough. Like, Gangnam Jin was in the kill feed so much. It was an insane performance, but still, KSP and Shaq.
Do you worry about Chris if they cannot play Brigitte for the Mayhem?
I actually think that was a pretty, big deal for the Florida.
Because before like the Brig dive came in, he was definitely one of their weaker points in terms of like dying a lot early in fights and not really getting great ultimate usage off. I do think that's like, I don't think it's a major concern right now for Florida. And I think with how hero pools are going to change and like, the most important times all the heroes are going to be available, right? So you'll be able to go back to that type of look. I don't think it'll be a huge impact on their season, but I think you will see some of these regular season games where Brig's not available be quite close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Yaki also being able to play the Echo just opens them up way more than the Valiant are opened up when hero pools unlock. This is about the best hero pool you could possibly ask for the LA Valiant. Yeah. And I think that Ash Tracer is still going to be super powerful next week and in the playoffs as well.
Oh yeah.
But Mayhem definitely benefit more from having a hero pool open. So I wanted this to be like a 7-map series,
Yeah.
Because a lot of it, when we saw like the grand finals when Mayhem played against the Shock, and same with Seoul against Shanghai, the maps do influence a lot of how.
Oh, the maps influence so much with this series. Like during the cast itself, when it went to King's Row and Shax couldn't get away with the aggressive flanks that he was getting away with, because there's not many routes you can go down with King's Row. There's some flank angles, but it's very choke pointy. It's quite orchestrated the way you're going to be trying to attack as a Tracer, I think, on maps like that. Hanamura's so open. Like, a Tracer can come from anywhere. And it really does help when it comes to the maps like that. Anybody got any final points that you want to add? I'm trying to move us along quickly.
I'm thankful that this match delivered, because if it didn't, Sunday would have been a brutal day to watch Overwatch.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really would. Would have been horrific. Is Shax the best? Shax has got to be the best Western Tracer, right? Easily. Is Shax the best Tracer we've seen so far this year?
Similar Dante for Western, right?
What? Really? You would still say Dante?
Yeah, Dante had a great...
for Western. I said there's those two, right?
Sinatra.
Dante,
Stop trying to make me look bad, Josh.
Sorry, I just misheard you. I misheard. I thought you said it's Dante for Western, and I was like, wow, really?
No, it probably has to be Shax for best Western Tracer. I don't think you can make an argument against that.
I mean, Dante did.
It was sick.
Dante's not playing against the same caliber of opponent, though, right? Like, this is against Yaki and BQB, and he shits on him.
But
isn't that
Dante
just unbelievably impressive?
Yeah.
Who was Dante playing against, though?
He was playing against Birdring.
He was playing against Kevster.
Kevster, yeah.
And Birdring at times as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point, Josh, but also I think that the Valiant had a game plan to mitigate how much Yaki could shut him down as well a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, but it's a fair point. I think currently, from what we've seen, at least from performances, it's hard to dispute best Western, maybe even best in the world.
I think he's. I think after the performance last night, it's only between him and Decay, honestly. Like, there's been some other insane Tracer players so far this year, like Yaki and like Fleda, honestly, as well, and Profit over in Asia.
There's Carpe. We can't forget about Carpe.
Yeah, Carpe, sure, as well. But Shax has just ascended to like the only other player that's ascended like that was Decay when he just took the series
but it
against the
happens
Valiant.
rarely.
But Shax does it every time he plays Tracer.
Does he?
Pretty much. His KD last time he played Tracer was 3.3. And I would have to dig into the stats for his previous ones. But I think if I just look now at the Overwatch League stats table, he'd be dominating. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I feel like he would.
I put a lot of emphasis as well to like, I don't know that a lot, but like I put some emphasis to like his pulse bombs as well. Like he just displayed such skill with Tracer as a hero, like the way he moved around and how he placed his pulse bombs. And like, it felt like you, Bren, and Josh were just like screaming every 2 minutes about the pulse bombs and how sick they were, and like pulse bombing other Tracers. I know Yaki did it as well, but just like, it was just ridiculous to watch.
He always got value
unreal.
on his pulse bomb, no matter what. It was like an immortality field getting forced out, or a kill, or a transcendence being forced out. It was absurd.
Oh my god! Final blows per 10 minutes. Tracer this year. I'm going to reduce the amount of time played down to 40 minutes because it was at 60. The highest anybody has got apart from Shax is Happy and Striker, both at 10.9. So it's like 10.9, 10.9, 10.5, 10.4, 10.4, 10.1, 9.6. So the clustering is pretty close, right up at the top there. Shax is at 12.8.
No, my God.
He's not just like a couple of percentiles ahead. He's absolutely pooing.
That's absurd.
Striker is higher in terms of eliminations per 10 than him, but I think that's probably because like his team just dominates as well. Eliminations is also like the team stats.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's absurd. He's also third highest in hero damage per 10 behind Decay and Happy.
Oh
and Striker there is like maybe like 8th on the list or something. And his deaths per 10, where is he on that? I can't even see him. Where is he? Oh, he's kind of like middle of the pack. He's pretty middle of the pack, yeah.
He does a lot, but
he is the best Western Tracer, I think we can say.
I mean, after those numbers, I would be inclined to say that he might be the best Tracer.
I think you could make a good argument statistically.
You can make a case for it, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the point is we're not working backwards from the stats here. We're looking at the stats afterwards and looking and seeing, oh my God, this guy might be the second coming of Jesus. Besides the point, let's move on to the last topic that we've got in our recap, and that is just talking about Philadelphia, actually. Where do Philadelphia belong as a top team? Because I don't want to say... my expectations for Philadelphia go down every week.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
So
they're 44 and 14
because maps. I think they play against. Okay, yeah, they've got wins, right? But when I watch Philadelphia, this is just the eye test from me. Now, call me an idiot, call me blind, call me whatever you want. I don't care. But when I watch Philadelphia, I still think that they make mistakes that other teams just trying to break into the elite do as well, right? They're not at that. They're not at the Shock or Shanghai level where these teams are so clean from like a teamwork sort of level where they inherently know how to play their compositions very well.
I think
they still make mistakes every now and then, but as soon as they fix them, I think Philly can be considered like right up there.
Well, I think they're just a different style of team in the way that like some of these other teams, they play like a really like how you could kind of compare them to the Shock in Shanghai, where they have like this really refined play style. Philly just plays a little bit looser. They rely on like their individual skill and mechanical skill to make plays. It's a way different style, I think, of gameplay. You're relying on your star players to come up big consistently.
Yeah, I mean, so many times we've been getting shit for like assuming people's like mentality and attitude and stuff. But it feels sometimes, and by the way, Kurt, I send you a link to our Vasts rankings as well. He placed Philadelphia really low on Discord, so if you can pull that up.
Really?
Yeah, he did actually, because he combined the two regions. But it feels like sometimes you can see when they're like throwing out ultimates for fun and when they're actually trying. Like they were trying to cap Point A on Blizzard World and like Sado and Carpe combined. So here's Avast power rankings. And he put essentially almost all APAC teams above the Philadelphia Fusion.
I can't agree with that.
You don't think so?
No.
Man, I mean, like they're all in the elite tier though.
Yeah. APAC is such a competitive region. I actually kind of think that Avast is onto something.
Do we really think that low of like the Philadelphia Fusion, like Sado, Fury, Carpe,
is it disrespectful
Funny
to think
Astro,
of them?
Alarm?
But you look. Okay, so the weird thing about the Fusion is though that they don't play against good teams very often, and so they have an incredible roster and they get great results. But the last time they played against a good team was just when they played against the Mayhem.
Yeah, the Mayhem.
Recently.
Yeah,
and they got beaten in that matchup. And I am not really convinced that they would be able to do any better in the rematch. Like if they played against them again in the Summer Showdown, I'm not really convinced that they'd like. I think that they made a lot of strategic mistakes going into it. But even if they just straight up played them at the meta, I don't know. I feel like Mayhem and Valiant they just kind of have like freakish players at the. It's just like their meta right now. Whereas
I
Philly
feel like people are
really
sleeping a bit on Philly here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot.
I think you're putting them down a bit too much.
Throwing at Philly here.
You think?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think this is a team that like they have star players at like the positions that you need, like sick players. Like I mean, for Sado on the Winston is really impressive, right? Fury, we know what he can do it off tank. Like Carpe, Alarm, like they upgraded with Funny Astro now, like, and they're 14-1. I mean, it's not like they've been as consistent as you could possibly be throughout the season, regardless of hero pool, regardless of meta. They've had close games, but they come up clutch in the end. I think ranking them in the middle of the pack is pretty rough.
I think they're the 4th best team in NA though right now.
After Valiant and Mayhem?
Yeah. I think Shock, Valiant, Mayhem.
So let's say if they beat the Shock, where would you rank them? It's only one game, but still.
Well, if they beat a Shock, I'd have to ask questions about a Shock as well.
Well, I mean, it depends, right?
But
Not
but it depends.
Because
of course
could
it
come out and
depends.
play really well.
But in a match that's like there's multiple ways they could beat a Shock. A Shock could have a bad week, like they did against Toronto that one time, or Philly could evolve into like that elite level team. But then if you want to
make the argument, the 1 week that Philly lost, you'd say it was a bad week for them, and they could be undefeated. But we don't talk about.
I think Philly came in with the wrong strategy in the main melee against Mayhem. I actually think they would. I disagree with Sideshow. I think Philly would play better against the Mayhem in a rematch because I think that they didn't do Carpe justice and they didn't enable him properly. I feel like
I agree.
Mayhem were always one step ahead in terms of strategy and enabling Yaki and BKB to do well. And wasn't Hisu gone for that game as well?
Yes, because he had he was sick.
Oh, was he sick? Oh, is that the
Didn't they play EQO?
I actually think they would.
Okay.
They played like EQO
and I
on like the Soldier.
We're sleeping on Philly here.
Yeah, okay, maybe. I mean, I find it hard though to place them above the Mayhem and the Valiant in this meta. Like maybe when hero pools open back up again, but even then, like I don't know. I don't really
feel like
know.
What about the Valiant? Because I feel like we're giving KSP and Shaq so much credit, but
do you not think
their perfect meta? I don't know what the meta is going to be with no hero pools, right? But I feel like
2 weeks
we
ago,
can't have too much.
Yeah, you'd assume it's somewhat close,
and it was pretty close to this.
I'm just saying I don't want to label Valiant as like a perfect team by any means because I do think that, for example, Fury and Gargoyle are both better than McGravy on Sigma.
Yes.
And for the main tanks, Sado and Fate against Dreamer, like Alarm, like there are a lot of positions here to keep in mind. And like I know KSP and Shax are sick, but like
But at the end of the day,
I don't feel great.
At the end of the day, Gangnam Jin and Gargoyle outplayed their opposition and they still lost. So like it's clear that some roles just have more weight to them, right?
Yeah, but was that for this meta specifically or for no hero pools moving forward too?
Yeah.
Should you even isolate hero pool performances? Like the way you even do power rankings becomes very complicated.
It does,
with hero pools in mind.
At worst, Philly is 4th in NA.
Absolute worst.
Yeah, absolute worst. 100% they'd be 4th.
And then I think we could argue in circles around all day between them, the Valiant, and the Mayhem.
Right,
I think between like different metas, different rosters, and I also think there's something to be said of like the teams are so close. It just kind of determines on who of their extra players steps up. Yeah,
just because we don't have a lot of time left.
We've been extended, Bren. We have more airtime.
How much time do we have?
Wow.
Yeah, we have until we have 25 more minutes.
Oh, excellent. Well, I still
Pog.
think that's fine. Then,
Yeah.
the pace that we're going at. Prediction time. Let's start with the first match that we got. Rolling up. It's the Dallas Fuel versus the Toronto Defiant.
Oh Lord!
Wow. Come on, dude.
Johnny,
I hope Decay plays. I hope Decay plays. That's all. Move on.
yeah. I'm kind of banking on Decay just not playing and Dallas not fixing their issues. And I think Toronto have been looking better. I don't know about you guys. Did you all think that you were going to be the only one to predict Toronto?
Yeah.
Really?
I did.
Oh, I thought more people would. I thought we all would have picked Toronto.
Well, I feel like it's just like it's just based on whether Decay plays, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's the same thing. I've asked power ranking. He put like Dallas like second to lowest, and I'm like, are you supposed to rank Dallas alone without Decay? Are we just supposed to forget about Decay because he didn't play one match?
But I don't think he's going to play this match either. Like nothing.
Why?
Because he said he wants a break.
He said he wanted a break because there's been no indication that he's coming back for the next match, and because if you've benched him for the Titans, why would you bring him back for Toronto? Like you've already thrown your seeding away. Why not just field him for the Summer Showdown?
I looked at the papers and I thought to myself, Dallas is the better team, and if Toronto wins, so be it. But it would,
So you watch Dallas lose 3-0 to Vancouver, and then you decide, do you think Toronto's that bad?
Well, I mean, Gladiators lost to Boston, and then we can't just dismiss all of Gladiators, Like, shit matches happen. Look, all I'm saying is, I probably expect Toronto to win, but I didn't feel good predicting against the Dallas Fuel when their peak potential is so high, if Decay plays.
By the way, I am happy to throw the Gladiators away. I don't know if you watched their match this week, but it was...
Against Houston?
It was fucking bizarre. Like
anyway, you're getting off track here, Josh.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I actually wanted to talk about that on the show. He did say that, but...
Yeah, but never mind.
Did you?
Yeah, never mind. Bren runs the show now.
Wait, you wanted to talk about it?
Yeah, because Gladiators had that super weird match, but it doesn't matter. We'll talk about it when we do power rankings or something. We'll find a place.
Yeah, anyway, I just want to finalize this by saying that Dallas looked gigapoo. Actual gigapoo.
Can you do that again?
Match previously. So,
Johnny's prediction is sponsored by Arrow. Yeah. and his mid-game quote.
if they turn it around, they turn it around. What's the next prediction? What's the next match we're looking at?
I'm not a Dallas fan because why would I want to be that depressed?
Johnny loses years of his life being on the show. What in Lord's name is this?
I'm riding the Shockwave hype train, dude. I'm genuinely happy about Shockwave.
You guys are quite surprised at this, huh?
I am quite surprised at this. Yeah. I mean, Boston have looked good. Both of these teams look like they've improved.
Yep.
But the Titans, I think, are finally starting to develop into a team that, like with Shockwave and Dalton, I think they have a good chance in this match.
Okay, so some of the factors where I predicted Boston here. When I took a look at, I look at okay, this is going to sound dumb as fuck. Ping.
What?
Ping?
Plays a big part in the performance of players. Big part. And Boston have a full squad in the building.
Doesn't Dallas as well, and they just lost?
Okay, ignore Dallas because Dallas are just like this little extra black hole of suckiness that just sit over there. But Boston, I think, are on the right path. Punk coming in.
Yeah.
Color Hex not playing May
has changed the game for Boston because it feels like Boston for the longest time were just kind of coasting in the league. Like they had no motivation, it felt like, to improve. But I think this injection of new players, Mikey or Punk, whatever, whatever you want to call it. Something's changed internally in this team, and it's fired them up again to improve. It's fired them up again to actually play as a team and get better. You can tell in the way that they conduct interviews. You can tell at the end when they win a match, they're all huddled around each other. There is momentum behind Boston right now, but there's also momentum around Vancouver. But I just had a feeling, and I felt like it would be a bit disingenuous to count them out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, especially because Color Hex has looked worse on Tracer this week than he did on the Echo. And I'm not saying that he looked bad on Tracer, but I think Color Hex being able to play Echo when the pool opens up again next week favors Boston more than this hero pool does. But I also think the Shockwave just looked really good on the Echo too. So I think this is a close fight between two teams that are actually starting to dredge their way out of the absolute.
Yeah, this is going to be a long match. I already feel it.
7 mapper?
Yeah, it could be a, it could be a 6 mapper. One of the classic.
I could also just see Boston winning.
Maps.
I could also just see Boston 3-0ing. Yeah. Honestly,
good
because they have
nice to know that
they
I've
just haven't got
converted
any
you all.
wins.
What's right?
I said it's nice to know that I've converted you all.
I mean, you didn't convert anybody. I think we're all standing behind our picks of Vancouver, but
no, we're just cheap. We don't have any opinions. We just agree with them.
All right. New York versus the Guangzhou Charge here.
Why, dude?
Matt, a Long Island boy, he's gone for New York.
I'm not exactly like all gung ho on the Guangzhou Charge. I don't know.
Guangzhou?
The Guangzhou Charge, man. What, they have 2 game 5s this week. I think with New York having another week to incorporate like Hangzhou into the lineup, I think they have a chance. I don't think this is going to be a lot like how Bren just predicted Boston, and it could be a series that could easily go the other way. I think this is probably a close match, like a 3-1, 3-2 either way. But I have a feeling New York will take it.
This feels like whenever we unveil this, it's like when you unveil in the Super Smash or Mario Party or whatever, that is like the game, the mini games, like, oh, it's us 3 against that guy. Yes, let's beat him.
I love how our predictions always turn out like this as well.
I don't know why I found that so funny.
There's always one person on an island.
I'm funny, Bren. What are you doing?
But no one else is laughing with us, Troy. No one else is laughing. It's just me and you.
I found it mildly amusing.
Oh my god.
It's funny because the graphics set up in the same way that it is in Mario Party as well.
Why am I crying?
I don't know about this one though, because now that you're talking about it, and now I'm thinking about it even more, I'm starting to be doubting my
Guangzhou's games are always so close. Like they're what, plus, I think they're only +1 in terms of map differential right now.
No.
So the thing that pushed me over the edge was I think that Nero and Neptuno's quarantine is ending pretty soon. I think this week it's ending.
Throw them right into the mix.
I don't have inside information. I just know that they went into quarantine roughly 2 weeks ago.
They just got back into scrims yesterday.
Yeah. No, Guangzhou is Guangzhou's 32 maps up, 31 maps lost.
Really?
I think Sombra being back might help Guangzhou a bit too. So
that's a good shot. Yeah.
I think the open hero pool is going to help Guangzhou more than it would help New York.
Does it though? Because you can't run Eileen and well, I guess maybe you can, but I wouldn't have expected them to run Eileen and Happy in an open hero pool because you need Nero to be able to play, like if you want to run a May or if you want to run like I don't know, like Pharaoh, we've seen a couple of teams running or something like that. Then Nero would be your guy to be able to do it. But it seems like they've specialized recently in the like double hit scan kind of stuff where Nero's Tracer, I don't know, Nero's Tracer has always been really good, but I just watched Eileen shit on some kids, and apparently he's only played Tracer for like a week, so I don't know what to think anymore about Guangzhou. I don't know.
It's going to be close, I think.
This isn't even the last match. We got 2 more to predict. What's this one? Okay. Pretty understandable. I think that we've all gone Valiant here after gassing them up for the entire episode.
Dude, Baby Bay is going to fucking come at Josh hard on Twitter.
Yeah.
Why?
Baby Bay doesn't play for the Paris Eternal match.
Oh shit! I thought that was an Atlanta logo.
What?
He's still gonna come at Josh.
I
don't know why
think it
I
would
said that
be
because I looked at this earlier and I was like, oh, Valiant's gonna have an undefeated
stage.
or whatever we're calling these now, tournaments. They're master stages, but yeah, they're basic stages.
The best case scenario going into the summer showdown, in my opinion, would be if Paris Eternal now dives with Diva back in the pool and like Sombra and just own the Valiant, and you go into the summer showdown and you're like, what is happening?
That would be sick.
That would be dope.
Sparkle just dominating
Or
somehow.
they double down on the Genji and play Brig with the Genji and armor pack him up.
I could see a world in which like Dive is discovered by some team, and it's probably gonna be a team like I'm saying it as if it's like a fucking undiscovered element, like unobtained, just flying up around. We have found Dive, the essence of Dive. But Shanghai have found a lot of success running Dive, and a lot of the Asian teams have been running much more than the NA teams. And I don't think it's that the NA teams are necessarily better at anti-dive, but the Asian teams have a bit more coordination and better Winston players, generally speaking. And I could see some world in which Paris figure out like a good method of diving Valiant, because Valiant, you got to remember, are a very inflexible team. They've got Shax and KSP, who basically only play the heroes that they are currently playing in this hero pool. And so if you can find a way of breaking that comp, you might just break the Valiant.
When was the Genji patch?
I don't think if that comes into play this or next week,
dude, that's
holy cow.
June the 16th.
Dude.
Doesn't even come into it. Wait.
I don't think there is like a cycle, though. Is it always 2 weeks or something?
Yeah, generally speaking, I think it's 2 weeks.
I think it might.
If it's 2 weeks, it would come in for the summer showdown, but not for these matches, which would be just bonkers.
Paris,
we gotta bring John
Paris get
again.
the 13th seed, and then they fight their way back with the Genji buffs.
Could happen.
Could happen.
Do you think they'll have a worse record than Dallas?
No.
Only got to play the Genji.
Next match is Philadelphia Shock, and we've all gone Shock. I think that's reasonable, but someone could play devil's advocate here.
Where was the respect that you were going to put on the Philadelphia Fusion, Matt?
Well, look, I mean, if you're predicting the match, you take the Shock, right? But I think this is one. I would not be shocked if either team won this game. Like if we left this game and like Philly ended up beating the Shock. I mean, the Shock haven't had exactly like the best practice leading into it by playing Washington. And the same with Philly beating the shit out of Boston. But still, I mean, I think there's with an open pool, you never know what could happen. I think this would be Philly needs this game way more than San Francisco, but I still have the Shock coming out on top.
I think.
Yep.
The fact that we've all predicted Shock here just reinforces my argument that Philly are just not that elite yet. Because
no. How does that make any sense? So you're saying that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Okay.
So the fact that we're not taking Philly against the undisputed best team in North America backs up the claim that they're not good at all.
I never said they're not good at all.
How many other teams would you pick against the Shock?
That's not what I'm saying, but we have taken chances on plenty of other teams, but no one here wants to take a chance on Philly, despite the fact you're all making arguments so they can be a top team.
It's Shock.
Exactly.
We take chances in games that people don't care about. Sure, I'll fucking take Washington on a whim just to get some people happy in the comments. Who cares?
Okay, maybe I'm, putting my argument in the wrong frame here. Maybe I need to spruce it up with some Van Gogh next to it. I don't know.
Well, the way I see this, Bren, it's like just because 51% chance to win something.
This is a really bad argument against Johnny. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying, like, if you could predict 51% chance to win or 49 chance to win, you would always predict 51 chance to win because you have a bigger chance of winning. That doesn't mean 49% is a small chance.
Well, I think Bren.
But we'd always predict the better.
Well,
Brent, if the Shock played against the Mayhem this week, who would you have picked?
I don't know what I'm doing.
If the Shock
What am I
played against the
doing?
Mayhem this week, who would I have picked? I could
we
have
just end it
picked.
there? No.
I would have picked Shock, but I think
Okay.
I could have made an argument for Mayhem.
If the Shock played the Valiant, who would you have picked?
But here's the thing with this. I think if the Shock played against Mayhem, I wouldn't be surprised if one of us predicted Mayhem. But if all of us didn't predict Shock here, I would be quite surprised. That's
Josh,
what I'm
would
trying
you
to get
have taken
at.
the Mayhem over the Shock?
No.
Would you
Valiant?
take the Valiant over the Shock?
No. But I would have been very. No, I wouldn't have been tempted, but I would have thought it was reasonable if someone had the balls.
Which I
to
think
go
you
for
put
it.
Philly in the same spot. It would have been reasonable if somebody would have predicted them, but you still favor the Shock heavily.
See, I don't really buy that though, because I kind of have some idea of what Bren is talking about. Is that when you have upset potential, it's normally because the underdog team has something going for them that could get them the win unless Shock shut it down. But Shock just kind of outclassed Philly in most aspects. I include in their team play, they've got the players to be able to stand up to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just as
I like
versatile.
I like when Josh helps me formulate my argument.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally what he's there for. You just kind of ramble and make a weird, what was it earlier? Cat in the poo
But
thing.
that's a good, let's be honest, that's good. That's like a good
The
analogy.
analogy.
Yeah, that's
Wonderful.
that's Brennan at his best.
That I'm sure that a couple of people listen and they got a chuckle out of it. I brightened someone day.
A couple
You know what
of
I mean?
people.
A little Timmy.
I
Real
brightened
happy.
someone day, and that's all that matters. Anyway, are we finished with this?
You brightened
Yeah.
my day.
That'll
Brent.
be the clip that people use where they're like, "Oh, Bren's got one just absolutely pepega take per episode."
people say
eliminate the Sol Dynasty's main melee results to qualify. There was one guy in a Reddit thread who's like, "Yeah, I agree." Everyone else is like, "You're an idiot."
people have a lot of issue with my takes, but that's why I'm here and you're not.
No, I feel like we've been better about being smart. The years progressing. I feel like we've grown smarter every episode. Am I wrong?
I think they mainly have issue
true.
with me, though, don't they?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, where are we,
the
Bren? Where are we?
happened
Even
here?
better about being smarter than all of a sudden Johnny's like, yeah, 51% of these things equals. I was like, what the hell? I was like, he's just talking about a bunch of math stuff. Yeah,
Johnny,
dude,
when
come on.
do you have to go? Is it like 5 minutes?
Let's say 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Okay, let's
all right.
speed
Let's
run
do
the
quick
power
power
rankings.
rankings.
Speed
Yeah.
run.
And then Brent's player of the week.
Okay, I can't really see
Have we
too
done
much.
any of the?
Hello?
Is T-Mobile going to like this episode?
Yeah.
That's what I really want.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Because we love T-Mobile.
Yeah. Does Bren have to do another funny story, or are we good?
no more
Good.
funny stories.
No more funny stories.
I would put the Valiant above the Mayhem and the Fusion right now.
Yep.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
that's being too meta specific, but I think that the meta when it opens up is still going to look pretty similar to this.
I like this top 4 personally.
Yeah, so do I. How far do we put down Dallas now?
Oh, I think 19th, if not, 19th. I think.
But Decay is going to come back at some point.
Do they go to the Chengdu zone until
They
we see
still
them at full
look-
strength again?
They still looked terrible. Just remember back to the synergy, the coordination of the Dallas Fuel without Decay. Like,
But if they have
I
Decay,
don't-
they're still going to be
I
able to
don't-
beat like most of these teams.
I don't think Decay
You
has
think so?
that
Yeah.
good of a performance that many games in a row.
Oh,
Like,
I think
eventually, he is going to.
You've got
No,
to factor
put
in the
them-
mental boomage. Like those players knew they were going to lose as soon as they stepped into the
But-
server.
Put them
Eventually,
above the
Decay is going
Justice.
to
Put them
crack.
above
Yeah,
the
put them above the
Justice.
Justice,
That's
yeah.
just really disrespectful. Put them
Yeah.
above the Justice.
Above
Yeah.
the Justice.
I will say I have them way higher in my power rankings because I base them based on Decay being back in the lineup.
Yeah, like Decay's not gone forever. Until he's gone forever, you
We
still
should
have to
put the,
keep them higher.
We should put the Justice in another section for teams that are on summer vacation.
Hot take. I think Houston are the 5th best team.
Wow.
Oh.
5th
Yeah.
over Paris?
No.
Yeah.
I actually,
No.
You think they're better than Atlanta too?
Yep.
I put
I think-
Paris over Houston.
Yeah, I would also.
I think Houston looked good.
Houston did look pretty good. I also thought that Gladiators were so weird, though. Like, why the fuck are Gladiators trying to run weird little, like, I don't know, odd rush comps with Cloudy instead of just focusing on their fundamental?
Because it worked that one game against Atlanta. They made it work.
I don't know what's happening with that. Like, just play double hit scan with Kevster. Like, just default.
I think you still have to put Gladiators above Atlanta, though, because they beat them recently, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Even though I do think that the Gladiators are trending downwards.
I thought that was a one-off with Cloudy just pulling the weight for.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I casted that, and it was just a really odd series. I mean, they made the rush comp with Cloudy work on Junkertown. Reinhardt rush Junkertown defense. It was super odd.
Cloudy was cranking 90s, bro. He was playing some Fortnite before that.
So
Dude, Cloudy. I have a story about Cloudy. I always used to see him on my block walking to go get what I thought was Korean barbecue, and I was like, man, he's always at the Korean barbecue spot. We would always like, wait, we see each other on the street, and then I found out that that's where they practice. So for a while, I thought he was always like, I thought this guy was eating like 4 things of Korean barbecue a day. Like, I'd always just see him just out by my place. But
yeah, I feel pretty good about that ranking, honestly. Like, I don't feel
Boston.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Toronto 3-0'd the Vancouver Titans recently. Like, they're looking all right. They don't look amazing.
Well,
who did Toronto just lose to?
Wait, you guys all predicted. Why are you guys putting Boston? You're not arguing with this Boston over Vancouver thing?
I think Titans still have to beat them in order to be ranked higher than them.
Okay. But you predict them to win.
Yeah, I think they're trending upwards, but I don't think they've proven it yet.
Well, he's eating his words live on the cast.
Well, for example, I would also not predict the Gladiators to beat Atlanta right now because I think the Gladiators are trending downwards. But I think you have to move people fairly slowly in the power rankings. Yeah. Apart from Dallas,
I would like to swap Atlanta with Gladiators.
I'm down with that, yeah.
Personally,
I would make big changes to this, but I'm not going to bother because it's Plat Chat, not Master Chat.
I see.
What do you do with the Asian region?
I think Hangzhou number 2.
Guangzhou second.
No, wait, no. Hangzhou number 2. And this is based on potential. When Guangzhou's look like the better team.
Guangzhou, just based on evidence, must be number 2.
London over Chengdu.
Yeah.
Oop. There you go.
And Seoul just stays there.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
And
I think that's a fair position for them.
Good speed run, guys. Well done.
Nice.
Houston Outlaws fans, very happy.
I mean, they're doubly happy this week because Dallas also fell.
Yeah. Houston looked good, though, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, they look self-confident, creative. I like that.
You can tell that the longer they work with hydration as the main tank, the better they're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so weird to see.
He was, I mean, the previous week to that, he looked abysmal, I think, but he's been getting better.
He is improving, but, you know. Glad for Houston Outlaws fans. They're finally catching a break, and they actually look pretty good, so congrats.
Yeah.
It's time for Bren's Player of the Week. Roll the clip, Kurt. Roll it. Roll it.
Bren's Player of the Week. Presented by T-Mobile.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that looks good.
Presented by T-Mobile.
Dude, we got some.
Let's go.
Production value, bro.
Dude.
Production value.
Player of the Week this week is Baby Bay for his tweet to Josh. Coming up with a new copy pasta, baby. Throwing it out there.
Let's go.
Hey, man, if you keep trying to get me out of my job, I'm going to come and steal yours, you little bitch. Now give daddy a smooch and say you're sorry. What a tweet.
What do you have to say in response to this?
All I can say is it was Father's Day yesterday, Baby Bay. I'm sorry, daddy. I'll give you a smooch whenever I next see you, and COVID isn't a problem. Here's the thing. I keep saying on my stream to the people asking me where Erster is, I'm saying, like, all right, but Baby Bay is like the hit scan specialist for this team. The reason I tweeted is because they had a map where Baby Bay was playing Tracer for the whole map, and I was like, this has gone too far. I must make a tweet. And immediately Baby Bay is like, you're coming for my job, you little bitch.
I love Baby Bay.
Baby Bay is great.
He is a class personality. Yeah. I'll never forget when Malik rang him on the phone and he just swore live on Watch Point.
tilted him, right? You tilted him.
Legendary moments.
And Bren was just like, can't hear you. I'm out.
Yeah.
that was funny.
What am I to say? I can't swear. I can't go back at him, can I? You know, like there's nothing I can say that you know. Oh, yeah.
That was pretty amazing. I mean, I do still have some concerns about us to be running this lineup. And Baby Bay, I think, is at his best when he is a specialist rather than being like a full-time player. That's
you're poking a bear, dude. You're poking the bear.
But okay, I'll give Daddy a smooch this one time, and I'll accept that Atlanta know best, and we'll see. I mean, they haven't been doing well, so he isn't eating $1,000 steaks anymore because they haven't been getting the winning money.
True.
So he's got to try and look after me instead of fucking at 7 a.m.
What?
He's chasing me for a smooch instead of finishing fucking at 7 a.m. And you know the classic other Baby Bay copy pasta? You're 5 stacking and I just got finished fucking at 7 a.m.
Yeah, I just
I actually wasn't aware of the copy pastas. I was like, where the hell did that come from? I was like, that.
Wait, you're not aware?
Wait, you're not aware of
You don't know this?
Baby Bay copy pasta?
Oh,
Nah.
Really?
Let me try and look it up because it's so good.
No, I don't know. I'm a boomer,
You're the
I
pop
guess.
culture god. What happened?
Yeah,
This is more important than Yeezys, dude.
I'm not up to date on my Baby Bay copy pasta memes, I guess.
Here it is.
so
Okay.
good.
It's like, I can find. Here it is. I'm gonna
Alright.
post it in the chat for you. It goes like this. It's Baby Bay, and it's a quote directly from Match Chat, and it's like 7 a.m. I just got done fucking. You kids are stacking.
You actually said that.
Yeah, he did. But it's not from an Overwatch League match. It's from ranked.
Yeah, that's right. He met
Okay.
the
Running into
six stack in
six
the morning.
stackers and ranked. You know, sometimes you just got to put them in their place by proving that you have sex.
Oh, I love Baby Bay.
Who the hell is who the hell's playing ranked at 7 a.m.?
Yeah, that's
Well,
pretty
people
early.
say-
No, they're just trying to
Six-stacking.
boost the SR.
Six
Like
stackers,
back
you
when
know?
you could get like 5,000 SR by just 6 stacking and shit, you know, abusing it.
Yeah. Ever more
Also-
early on.
Also, there's this one. I mean, were you aware of this incredible copy pasta from King Baby Bay as well when he responded to Bren? This was part of like the
Wait.
same shit talk dialogue when you were gonna 1v1 him, and he said,
I think
"Sorry,
I've seen
fucko,
that.
I just got done eating this $1,000 steak with all my handsome and jacked friends with our model girlfriend. Something your 6'4" slim dad bod couldn't possibly comprehend."
What was the video?
I think you were just caressing. You were just
We can't
caressing
hear.
this dude.
DJ Khaled.
Yeah, you were just caressing DJ Khaled.
Oh, I can
Yeah,
hear it
just-
now. Can you turn up a little bit more?
He's washed up? What are you saying?
You guys can't hear this.
Oh.
It looks great.
Just calm yourself. He's
I
jacked.
think.
Yes, I know he's fine.
I think you lost this banter war, if I had to guess.
Well, I didn't really know what to respond with, but did I lose it with a video like this? Wait, you got to play the rest of it, Kurt. You can't just lose it.
2019,
What the-
bro. You keep...
I can't even remember the rest of this video. I recorded it.
Oh, you caught me in a bad moment, you know. I was just chatting to my good friend DJ Khaled. You may know him from such hit singles like.
What? Wait, do I do something
Put Your
weird
Hands Up
here?
in the Air for Jesus, and
I
Don't
thought
hear
you
like
ripped your
what?
top off,
Well,
but I don't
I
think
did
you
tell you.
actually do.
Baby Bay, Andre, my guy, glasses coming off. Listen.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay, turn it off, Kurt. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off, Kurt. Turn it off.
I think you were just saying you were on a pure diet of honey as well, weren't you?
A diet of honey?
Bren is so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
God, I looked good back then. My God.
Gods, I was strong then.
You're talking about like it was like 10 years ago.
All right. I gotta go, gentlemen. Is T-Mobile happy?
Yes.
Done all the
Yes.
graphics.
Well,
and the
yeah.
quotes
I'll
and
get on the
stuff?
phone
Yeah.
with Mr. T-Mobile and I'll ask him.
No, I just want to make sure, you know.
Dude, how do
Just
I
say we're
know?
T-Mobile. I'm just saying T-Mobile because we love T-Mobile.
Yep.
There we
Shout out. T-Mobile massive.
Be you.
We got
See
a
ya.
lot of fun stuff coming as well with T-Mobile.
Bye.